Flame for putting me in tears for episode 1 and 2.
Oh, nice.
I hope they were happy tears, though.
They were happy tears. They were happy tears. Yeah. I was provided 1, 2, and 3. 3 was a little more uplifting.
Yeah.
But these bonds, I mean, you got to live with them, you know, during the shooting of it. Which one was the more touching for you?
That's a tough one. They're all special in their own way. I think you know, we spent probably the most time with Jay and JoJo, and really got to spend time with, you know, Jay going through some pretty rough stuff, you know, with her dialysis and the chemo and all that kind of stuff. So, you know, knowing that there's this yearning of her wanting to go and, you know, see JoJo again, potentially maybe for the last time or whatever, you know, not to be morbid, but like she was very sick.
Her stakes were very high.
Her stakes were high, and she was so looking forward to this meeting that would, you know, potentially help, you know, heal her a little bit, and obviously not cure her, but heal her in the way that, like she says. And what I loved about Jay is how frank and candid she is like, you know, going to chemo and dialysis and this whole routine of like being a sick person, that's not living, you know, like getting in the water and seeing, you know, this her friend, that's living. So for us, I think the anticipation was just as clearly not as on the same level, but pretty high with this, you know, going down to Turks and Caicos with her and seeing if they would in fact,
if they'd find each other, and then if he would remember her.
Yeah.
So how was it to finally get to see her find JoJo? I mean, there was day 1 and day 2 where it was just like, oh my gosh.
It's very stressful.
Incredibly stressful.
From a filmmaking standpoint, I mean, obviously we're building the anticipation because, you know, obviously it's not a great story if we went down there and they met in the first 5 minutes. And we didn't think that was going to happen, but we also were kind of prepared because Jay kept trying to prepare us for it, which is like, I've been down here before, and then I've been down here for a week and I haven't seen him. And it's just, and then once you get down there, and yeah, I think you see in the drone footage, like you see this big expanse of ocean. You're just like, how the hell is she going to find a dolphin in this ocean? Like,
that's what
it really starts to come into view, which is like, this is not going to happen. Like,
well,
there's
again,
no way.
The stakes felt so high, just on a personal level for Jay, and filmmaking aside, we wanted it so bad for her, and you want to get over the hurdle of will they find each other. But then you have to wonder, how is JoJo going to react with her? Is he going to remember her? Is that a trauma waiting to happen? What happens if they find each other and there's no recognition there? You know, is Jay going to be heartbroken? How is that going to affect her? So it was very, very stressful kind of riding that ride along with Jay. I mean, clearly it was a million times worse for her. But we wanted it so bad for a lot of reasons.
Mm-hmm. And then the joy for the second day, right, with JoJo.
Yes.
Oh, and just the relief.
Yeah.
I mean, you see it in the smile on Jay's face. It's just perfect. She doesn't even need to say anything because you feel it at that point.
Yeah. I know, like even seeing her smile, like that started, oh, look, like I'm getting teary up. So embarrassing.
I know. No, I know. It's so hard. And I hope in the first episode you felt that way when Ray and Kanku were reunited.
That was another one. I was so scared to hear another ending. These like, I don't cry with movies. I cry with animal movies.
Yeah. That's well, it's easy because we are cat people. I mean, we had 5 cats at one point, and we only have 1 cat left, and he's like the center of our world, really. I mean, we have a daughter.
We do have a daughter.
And no, but I'm just saying, like, as a family, like he's such an integral part.
Like, yeah, but she's fine. He's 20, so.
He's such an integral part of our family. I can't imagine our lives without him in it. And so we get these bonds, but it makes sense to us because that's how we are with our animals, you know, with our cats. So because I think at the heart of it, I think the relationship that you have with your animal is it's just that pure, kind of like unadulterated love, right? I mean, it's like it's the purest form of love because there's no, there's no baggage there.
Well, they just want you. They just want you. They don't care what you look like. They don't care what you're going through necessarily, with like we get caught up in work stuff and friend drama, and all of that is kind of stripped away, and it really is this just kind of pure love relationship where it doesn't matter what's going on with you. They just want your company and your love. And what was amazing for us was to be able to see that. And I think what the bond focuses on is that you can get that in all different kinds of animals, in all different places around the world, whether land or sea, that it is possible with these unconventional animals to have these non-traditional relationships, just these really beautiful friendships and connections with unexpected creatures, and still have a really deep and strong and meaningful relationship there.
Kind of like Ray for the first episode, the unexpected relationship with a wild kangaroo.
Right. And for even the, there's an animal expert in there, the veterinarian, who says, like, guys, you don't understand how rare this is. This is truly a wild animal, and an alpha male, head of a mob at that, to have such an intimate relationship with a human is extraordinary. And it's very clear from anyone who spends any time with them or observes them that they really do have a special bond. They really are there for each other. And it's unbelievable and beautiful.
And the way you guys put together the storyline, how Ray and what's his name, Kanks?
Kanku. She calls him, she has like a nickname. She calls him Kanks.
Kanks, yes. They're actually a team for everybody.
Yes.
Yeah. That's what was so great about her story. Like when we were looking for these stories, there's no shortage of cute animal relationships, like there's the dodo, and we see these like little 20-30 second vignettes of like a cute relationship with a person and a parakeet or something. But for us, to make a fully fleshed out kind of hour-long TV show, like there needed to be a lot to the story. And obviously with Ray, the wildfires in Australia was such a huge like story, and then like the fact that she had a lot of documented footage that was a big part of her story, and then knowing that obviously we weren't there for when the wildfires were happening, but knowing that we could retell that story, and then the second half of her story was more about the rebuilding a year later. It all just made a lot of sense. It was like, oh, there's a lot going on with this story that's just beyond like a one note, like, oh, isn't it cute? This woman has a great relationship with a kangaroo. And it's like, yeah, but then what do we do for the next 47 minutes? Like,
right. We had to take a viewer on a journey. And I hope that comes across, that you do feel like you're going on this journey with each of our characters.
It's really sad because in this case, you're documenting about relationship with wild animals, with humans. And then we have the surprises that happen, with Mother Nature, with the fire.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. And
but
look, though, they got each other through it.
Yeah,
and it is amazing to see the positive things that can happen with humans and animals when we, it sounds corny, but when you work together, look at what they got through, and look at what they were able to rebuild together. I mean, Kanku really was a part of that process. And it shows, the beautiful relationships that we can have with the world around us if we choose to pay attention to those kind of special signs.
Well, it looks like you're pretty much telling me what I was going to ask you, what you hope people learn from these bonds.
Maybe I just inadvertently did. I hope so. That was a takeaway for me. And also just that, there's beauty everywhere if you take a minute and take a deep breath and try and make a connection outside of yourself. I mean, look at the wonderful things that we were able to capture.
And on the third episode, which, like I mentioned, I think that was more on the happier note for me. We have Frankie, which is the unexpected pet. Can you talk a little bit of your experience with Frankie?
Yeah, I mean, Frankie was she is, it's a she actually, even though it's a male name. Frankie's a sweetheart, and I think like we kind of leaned into the quirkiness of this couple that was living. I think like around the time that we were like casting and then started filming, like Nomadland was kind of like in the zeitgeist, and people were talking about this idea of like living off the grid and kind of doing their own thing. And I think like that was really cool to be able to spend time with Kate and Chad and Frankie as like an unconventional family that is just doing their own thing, and they're finding their own happiness, and they're kind of enjoying the what the beautiful things that this country does have to offer, beautiful scenery and locations and things like that. And really just the idea of like going on a road trip with a goat was like, well, that's good enough for like something's bound to happen, like 30 days on the road with an Airstream and a goat. And then we found the Maggie storyline with the ashes and all that stuff, and just bringing that kind of like more, I think, like very relatable aspect of like being in like, I hate the idea of like pet owners, but like when we are, they're part of our family, and they don't unfortunately, they're not on our life cycle, and we have to reconcile that constantly with our animals because they don't live on our timeline. So I think that's very relatable to this idea of like, how do you let go, and what do you need to get through a heartbreak like that. And I think Kate and Chad having Frankie was such a big aspect of getting through the trauma and the sadness of Maggie's death. So I don't know, that was just a beautiful story that like it was great to be able to spend so much time in these beautiful locations, and really show the best of what this country is.
And something I think that ties all the episodes together, and again, it may sound a little bit trite, but what each of these stories kind of exemplifies are these amazing people who blaze their own trail and find their own happiness. And we see how life gets in the way, and Mother Nature gets in the way and intervenes. So you only have a finite amount of time here. You may as well spend it the way you want and find the beauty and the happiness where you can. And hopefully we show those joyful moments throughout the bond.
And I loved how Kate says that living small allows them to live very big.
Yep. And you see that through the footage, don't you? You see exactly what she means.
I love it. I'm going to apply it.
Well, that's great. I mean, even that's what I'm hoping, that if even you get these little reminders of how to reframe your thinking while watching this, you get just a little bit out of it, then that's amazing for us.
Well, and I think like we don't have to, like, we've all been living in a collective trauma for several years now, like the pandemic and and what's been happening politically and what's happening in our country, this country specifically, but obviously it's around the world, there's strife everywhere. And I think like, having a show and being we've been making documentaries for a long time, and we've done, a range of subjects, and we get into the darkest parts of like humanity with like true crime stuff to like, like everybody's got their own struggles and stories that we make, but there is something nice to be able to like offer up, some level of light in a very dark world and a very dark time right now. So I hope that that's what people get out of it, is a little bit of like, what, maybe the world isn't the worst thing.
Maybe it's not all a dumpster fire. Maybe there's some brightness in some corners that we just haven't been paying enough attention to.
So it's pretty much up to us for us to apply those, right?
Yeah, I can't do that for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, control. So I got to watch the first 3 episodes. What can you just give me
There's
more?
one more episode. There's an episode of a family in South Africa who has a cheetah as a pet, is the wrong word, but it's injured.
It's an extension of their family, we'll put it that way.
Yeah, the Kiki, who's the cheetah, has an injury that prevents her from being like
Re-released into
the wild. So she has become part of the family.
But she has been able to contribute to the wild cheetah population, and that's a beautiful part of her story. Is that when her injuries were grave and it did look as though she wouldn't make it, and the couple, Des and Aliska, put so much time and love and energy into healing Kiki, and then she eventually becomes such a part of their family that then they're able to let her breed, and she contributes to the wild cheetah population. And then we kind of go through the journey of seeing her cubs grow up and potentially get released back into the wild, and then they can kind of have the life that she was never able to have. But it's another full circle beautiful story that I hope you get to see and enjoy.
Oh, more tears.
Maybe.
Having tears.
I mean, I was crying when I saw the kangaroos with burned hands, burned feet, tails. I mean, that is so heartbreaking. That's one of the things when, I'm in California, I'm in LA, the fires. And the one thing, I feel bad for people losing their home, but I feel more bad for the wildlife because they can't just get up and drive. And
right.
They're stuck, especially the little creatures.
Yes, yeah, and there were terrible stories coming out of Australia with the koalas and kangaroos and other wildlife. But look at what Ray and her mob, so to speak, was able to preserve. And again, there's some light at the end of that tunnel. Great.
Well, thank you so much for your time, and I'm sorry for losing it for a moment, but
no, thank you so much. Thanks.
Well, that's great.
Watching.
It means that we did something that moved you, and you can't ask for more than that as filmmakers.
Yeah, we appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, gotta keep it together. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Bye-bye.
Take care.
All right, take care.
Bye-bye.